Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I am Adrian Fort, and I'm not sure if you can hear the apocalypse happening outside of my apartment, but I should be sleeping right now, and I think a trash truck got stuck in the parking lot, and it's constantly beeping trying to get out, as well as this being the day that apparently everything on the front of the building will be power washed. So this is uncomfortable. So I'm coming to you with nothing really prepared, but I thought I would take this inopportune moment to make a video. And I don't really have anything planned or prepared, but I thought I would just talk a little bit about something that is on my mind. I was reading through Literature, a portable anthology, 2nd edition, last night, / my today. And something strange struck me. These poems, the poems in here, are arranged basically chronologically. And we have the first, it's not the first poem in here, but very early. We have a poem from approximately 1595, written by Edmund Spenser, titled "One Day I Wrote Her Name Upon the Strand." One day I wrote her name upon the strand, but came the waves and washed it away. Again I wrote it with a second hand, but came the tide and my pains his prey, and made my pains his prey. "Vain man," said she, "that dost in vain essay a mortal thing so to immortalize, for I myself shall like to this decay, and eke my name be wiped out likewise. Not so, quod I, let baser things devise to die in dust, but you shall live by fame. My verse your virtues rare shall eternize, and in the heavens write your glorious name, where whenas death shall all the world subdue, our love shall live, and later life renew." 1595, fairly interesting thought. Hey baby, I love you so much, and you're so beautiful. I'm going to write a poem so that everyone might remember you forever. And again, published in 1595 or around. I don't really know how they keep those dates, or if this was how this poem was found, but they're around. And here we are, 400 and some odd years later, with this poem still around. So, congratulations, Edmund Spenser. You won. But 1595, 2 poems later in this very collection, from the year 1609, 14 years after this first poem was penned, the poem Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare was penned. "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when his eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee." It is the same sentiment, but one cannot say that the previous outshines the latter. One might prefer the previous to the latter. One might prefer "One Day I Wrote Her Name Upon the Strand" to Sonnet 18, and one wouldn't have to give reason for preferring it. But all of the tropes, all of the tools of the writer, all of the quirks of literature that go into something such as Sonnet 18, everything that is inherent therein to the completed piece, makes it a much better poem. than that of Edmund Spenser. And this is just 14 years later. We have the Spenser poem from 1595, the sonnet from 1609, and it takes that little amount of time for someone like Shakespeare to come along and fuck it up for everybody. For someone like Shakespeare to come along and push things so far forward that it is difficult to see what might be next. And that brings me to the idea derived from Derrida, known as hauntology, which is often summarized as the future has been canceled. And I think that the real crux of the matter has been bastardized, I dare say, by the philosophers who have inherited the idea from Derrida. I think, from observation, that the idea of the future was special for a very small fragment of time. Now, what is often pointed to when someone is saying that the idea of the future has been canceled is that if you go back to the 50s and you ask them, hey man, by 2018, what do you think is going to be going on? Oh, flying cars, no one will have disease, no one will fight any wars, yada, 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 yada. But I think that idea of the future was something relatively recent and relatively confined to maybe a century or two. So that today, when you ask someone, what do you think is going to be going on 100 years from now, people don't really know how to answer. There are so many forefronts on which one might make a claim that it's hard to pick any one claim and go with it. Someone like Sam Harris might very well be afraid of what AI will bring. Artistically, it's very difficult to say, especially because of the direction that... So if you go back to these days, and you ask someone to write the 1595 days, and you ask someone to write a sonnet, they're probably going to pick the Italian sonnet. There's a special name for it, but Petrarchan sonnet. I don't remember my sonnets right now. But they would pick one of those, and it wouldn't really matter what words they chose to rhyme, because it would all be fairly new. It would all have its place. 14 years later, after Shakespeare dropped his sonnets on the world, he broke the damn thing. You can't write one anymore, because it's not as good as Shakespeare's. All this noise. So this idea of hauntology, I think, is available to the arts. Not knowing what the future will be, not being able to understand what it might bring. But all it takes is a Shakespeare to come along and push everything forward. And I think that I think it can't be long before someone really revolutionizes the written word. It's been a while, perhaps 100 years or so, since things really took a massive turn in English literature. Everything after, say, the expatriates, it has been really working on nuance versus someone coming along and breaking the damn thing. So I am posing the question to you. What do you think is next for the written word? What do you think is next for English literature? What do you think? Do you think that Western arts, or Eastern, if that's where you're from, are facing the specter of hauntology? I would be interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments below.